Welcome to a true spiritual adventure story like the world has never known, with your host, Dr. James Yogadhi Weldon. Good day, this is Dr. James Weldon, or Yogadhi, speaking to you from Heavenly Mountain in Boone, North Carolina. And the topic is Living the Enlightened Life. And this is an ongoing discussion and a quite honest and open sharing of many of the things that I passed through over the years in my life. And the whole purpose is not necessarily, has nothing to do with me. It's really important that people know that there is a means to deepen the inner consciousness, and you need to be patient and allow it to happen. This book that I originally wrote, I actually originally wrote it honestly just to get these things out of my awareness, because I was so unbelievably amazed what I'd passed through that I had come into contact, now I know, with three incredibly highly enlightened beings back in 1976. And something had happened to me there that at this point didn't understand. Now 17 years have passed, and I'm actually living in Colorado. And my first teacher, spiritual teacher, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, as far as I can tell at this point, had given me the instruction, okay, move on. You need to go learn with a different teacher. And that teacher and tradition was Swami Muktananda and Guru Maharaj Chitvalasananda of the Sidda Yoga tradition, a really wonderful organization and group. I had met both of them, briefly seen both of them back in 1976 when this all started. Our spiritual evolution can happen in phases. And you know, it's important to, in spite of all this, to keep the feet on the ground. And fortunately, at this time in my life, I was now married, and my wife, Lynn, or Rama, she received a special name also, is the one that helped me all along stay on the ground here. He had now told me in some mysterious ways, through some mysterious messages I talk about, to now I needed to go study with one of his good friends, the Siddha Yoga traditions. And now I'm back in Boulder, and there's a center that they have, and I go to that center once a week or so and listen to some of the chanting and singing. It's a lunar holiday, and he was the spiritual teacher of Muktananda, who's also passed away now. And it celebrates him leaving the body. And before he passed away, his primary student, one of them, Muktananda, had already begun to travel the world to teach. He spent his life in India, is also known as Badi Baba, or the Big Father. He would often sit for long periods, letting the energy do the work around his students. I talked about that in the last chapter section on the Kundalini, the life force that I've been passing through. I also discovered that Muktananda went through a lot of the phases that I was now passing through. It's kind of like being in contact with that tradition. I was now going through some unique things that were associated with that tradition. So it was told that around this great yogi, just being in his presence was enough to bring on meditation. And during this evening, about 50 of us have gathered in Boulder, Colorado to celebrate this enlightened being's remarkable life. During the chanting, as I'm sitting there meditating and I'm seeing the photo, to me, it's looking so alive and full of light. It's said that this is one of the ways that some of the grace and power of a spiritual master can be brought in. You know, sometimes we need a point to focus. That's one of the reasons that we can have a sound for meditation. There is a gazing meditation technique also. And it said that the picture of a realized being can also bring in that energy if we have devotion to invoke that grace. I'm sitting in this room with all of a sudden, this picture becomes three-dimensional to me. And this physical form of this enlightened teacher, who I'd never obviously met physically in this life, it showed up, and it's surrounded by a celestial light. In silence, this image, he raises his hand And then he motions towards his heart. And then he looks at me with this all-knowing gaze and points again to his heart. After some time, he points to another part of the body. And I'm wondering what's going on. You know, whether it's true or not, I'm not asking anybody to believe that, but this was my experience, my dear friends. So I'm being completely honest. And he looks at me with sparkling eyes, and he raises his hand in salute, and he points to his feet. And I'm watching it. And then all parts of the body are illustrated. His arms, his hands, his feet, his calves, his toes. Every one of these are kind of shown in this way. And I'm absolutely transfixed by this. And I can't take my eyes away it. And then at the end of it, I slowly fall into the deep space inside. And I'm feeling oneness with the heart. And I'm feeling the love. And as he points to his feet, I'm feeling this great energy of grace. And he points to his arms, I feel unbelievable caring. And he points to his legs, and I feel a sense of tremendous support. So this goes on and on. He points to his eyes, and then to his body, and then all of a sudden there are eyes all over. I'm seeing eyes everywhere. It's like every atom, every cell in that room can see, and at all directions at the same time. He points to his nose and then his body again. I begin to realize that the sense of smell is in everything. And these wonderful scents fill my mind. And I'm lost in this perfume. And he points to his ears. And hearing is everywhere. I'm hearing bells, sounds, and even the beat of my own heart. And then there's sounds of tinkling of bells, the rustling of the wind, in innumerable places, inside and outside. And then he holds out his hand. And as he caresses his finger, ever so gently, I'm feeling touch everywhere. And I'm so amazed. Touch is everywhere. Numerous fingers, if you will, in the form of flowers, leaves, rocks, even minute grains of sand. The loving touch of the divine everywhere. And again, he points to his legs, and there's a great being with many legs walking everywhere across the earth. And this goes on. The songs and the voices of the many people, many animals, birds, reptiles, snails, these are all the voices, really, of the same being. So every sense, sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, speech, even elimination, movement, generation, all of these qualities are the quality in one being. For me, at that time, it was beyond comprehension, beyond amazement, beyond appreciation. This being of us all. About an hour and a half goes by, and I return to the room, and the final chant and meditation ends, the gratitude to the tradition. And I look out and see, Buddy Baba's picture again, and I remember, the Maharishi speaking with me in those precious moments with him, and the same twinkle is in their eyes, a mystery, an understanding, a realization is hitting there. When my mind begins and I'm paralyzed with really a lack of understanding, trying to grasp something so vast, possibilities just so limitless, so deep. Then the voice comes up and it says, this is a cosmic body. That person is vast like the sky. The Father everywhere, and Mother also everywhere. The Father, the Mother, the child, the friend, the guru, the devotee, the beloved of all is one being. It's one life. And that one is everywhere. And even as I hear these words, my understanding is not complete. That level of life can't be understood. It can't be intellectually understood. The intellect takes you so far, but the reality is in a space that's beyond that. The mind, the intellect, the ego, and then this ineffable self really cannot be understood. It can only be lived. So in that instance, I open my eyes and the meditation is over. And I see this kind of three-dimensional image again, Baba. And he raises a salute. And then he points to his heart. And I remember these words. The heart is the hub of all sacred places. Go there and roam. So although we think we know the truth when we captured God in such words or concepts, Purusha, Christ, Buddha, whatever, we really don't. The reality is vast, too awesome, too wondrous for the small mind to comprehend. It becomes empty and merges into that reality. All of this that's going on, all the visions that I've been passing through were only a taste. And I had begun to see clearly that consciousness, that's what I'm heading into. And I honestly believe that right now in this world, we're in a huge, great period of awakening, spiritual awakening in the world, all over. And I want to thank these traditions, all these great spiritual teachers that have come to help show the way. And my only prayer is, let it be. Let it be. For every one of us, let it be. We're all part of one life. Let it be. So thank you for taking time to listen to a little more of my story on living the enlightened life. And all of the experiences, they really don't matter. Don't get stuck on that. The reality behind that, we all have to do that hard work. But in my experience, good guidance can make a huge just difference. And we're so fortunate now that around the world we have such tremendously great beings that are traveling. It used to be the case in past ages. If you were really fortunate, you might be born in a locality where there would be such a teacher. And even if you're born there, even if you saw such a person, would you really appreciate the possibilities were there for your spiritual growth? And even if you did that, would you take up some of the practices and maybe doing the work to help people? Many teachers teach in different ways, through service, through song, through food, so many different ways. Would you be lucky enough to take that up? And then would you be lucky enough to stick with it with all the distractions in the world? And then if you're lucky enough even to stick with it, to have it come into your life stronger and stronger and to continue with it. We're so fortunate now in this world. For the first time, there are really are unbelievably great beings traveling about, in some ways quietly, in some ways more openly sharing that. They're coming to us. In my small way, I'm trying to share that from Heavenly Mountain, our community. Here, someday we'll be like one of these great spiritual centers that have grown up around the world. People will come and they're able to be in that kind of this space, and they're able in that space to open up to this greater experience. Please go back and listen to these talks. And if it doesn't make any sense, as much sense, you need to go back earlier. I'm now in 17 episodes here, which I've been talking at least half an hour each one. And they're from my book, which I offer freely and openly to anyone who's only sharing, so that we can join together commonly in our understanding. And together we're so strong. We can do incredible things in this world. If we will come together and we'll accept people as they are, we don't try to change anybody, and we share our love and our gifts, then we can create something really great together. Until our next discussion, you can listen to it anytime. Ask your friends maybe to listen. How to live the enlightened life. And that really comes down to how to experience your own innate happiness. This huge well of joy within us that we all had as children, hopefully, and we've lost contact with. We need to get deeply immersed into that. It will be that force of life and love that can really heal this world, that can heal the minds. I've been in terrorist regions, been in prisons. I've looked face to face with people that have murdered and killed people. And they're people like everybody else. And they are victims of their own mind. Yes, actions have created that they wish they didn't do, perhaps, but how do we clear that? How do we wash the mind of all of the traumas? And that's the science of living. And skillfully, if you follow along, you will achieve the art of being joy, living in joy. And I wish that, and I wish to be for every single person on this planet, every single living being. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us in our YouTube channel, books, podcast episodes on living the enlightened life with your host, Dr. James Weldon.